Girls of Reddit, what was the best flirting technique someone did to you? Wait right there. I promise that you and I will have the most interesting conversation in this bar. When I was 10, I received a love letter from a boy. It contained a flower inside. And at the bottom of the letter he wrote some cheat codes for Mortal Kombat for me. He knew I was always playing that game on my Sega. A man I worked with asked me for my phone number. We had already been working together for a few weeks, and a mutual attraction was evident. I pointed to the bulletin board behind him. It's on the wall there. I know. But I want you to give it to me. I don't think his intentions could have been more boldly nor charmingly stated. We moved in together 3 weeks later and are still in love 25 years later. I'm British, and I came over to the States on a temporary work visa. To do 1. Ski season with Vail Resorts. I was bartending at an on-mountain restaurant. And a couple of snowboarders come in and start talking to me. It came up that I was only there for the season. Then one of them says, "I'll marry you so you can stay, but we have to go on a date first. We just celebrated our 13-year anniversary, and I'm still in Colorado. Met my husband through a random roommate's boyfriend. I had met him a few times at this point and he spotted me unloading groceries from my car. He insisted on helping me carry everything in, and even just unloading everything onto the counters while asking about my day. It was incredibly easy to imagine dating him all of a sudden because I had a tiny glimpse into what my day-to-day could look like. Joke's on him though. I now refuse to carry groceries in on principle. Oh, how he rues the day. He brought me a huge tub of my favorite ice cream flavor after hearing that I was having a bad day. Hey, do you want to help me throw fruit at my friends? 16-year-old boy at summer camp, holding a bunch of oranges, who wanted to meet me. I was also 16 at the time. When my husband and I started dating, he would do this thing when he shifted gears in his city little Sentra. He would kind of brush the back of his hand on the outside of my thigh as he shifted. I don't know how to explain it, but it was like fireworks every time it happened. We were riding in that car when I realized I could spend the rest of my life riding shotgun with him. The third time we hung out, I went to his house. We were both in grad school and were talking in his room, but I was exhausted from school and my 2 jobs. I was sitting on his bed and fell asleep. When I woke up, he had put a blanket on me and was playing beautifully on the piano. I was so embarrassed cause I had drooled all over his pillow and surprised that he was so kind about the drool and not creepy about me being passed out on his bed. We've been married for almost 4 years now and been together 8. Bonus fun fact: his brother didn't believe I existed and accused him of making it up till I met him a year later. I was his first real girlfriend at like 25. I was in Chicago on business, got a horrible migraine, and had to cancel a meeting with a man I had met with, for work, the day before. I get really bad migraines. Really bad. After it was over, I had to get a bit of food and something to drink. But it was very late and there was no way I would survive any kind of cab ride. He was the only person I knew in town, so I sent him a text to see if he knew of anything in my area that would be safe, open that late within walking distance. He drove 30 minutes across town in the middle of the night to walk me to a 24 hours restaurant and buy me dinner. I've been with him for 11 years now. Was riding home with the friends group back in 2008. We stopped to drop off the one guy, and I got out to stretch. I mentioned that the stars were so much more visible up there in the mountains and he said, "Yeah, they're really pretty. Wish I had someone to watch 'em with." I'm a sucker for corny guys. We got married the next year and are celebrating 12 years this June. ETA, June 3rd th 2009, since he can't remember LMAO. My first boyfriend came into the store where I was working and just straight up told me he had seen me through the window and needed to run home to clean up, put on something nice so he could come back and ask me on a date. It was super endearing. Edit to add, he didn't watch me through the window lol. Just saw me in passing and wanted to ask me out. This was well before dating apps where you basically had to ask in person. He was within my age range. Nice smile and just had a good energy. Also, his secondary flirting technique worked just as well. He brought me a book on our second date because I had mentioned in passing that I loved to read. He was good at making me feel heard. My wife said her favorite line of mine is, "I like your lack of beard." Told me at a Halloween party that he had his eye on me. Proceeded to hand me a squishy eyeball. A guy told me that he liked my shoes and asked where I'd gotten them. We were in a bowling alley. We met at a Halloween house party, and when I was going to leave he walked me to the room with all the coats, which also happened to be a kid's room, and he asked me, "What color crayon would you like to write your phone number with?" I married him. Celebrated 20 years. Not me but my mom. My mom and dad were set up by a friend of theirs. My mom is completely deaf. Upon being told this before he met her, my dad went out and learned as much sign language as he could before he met her. My mom doesn't know sign language. Adorable and hilarious. First time I hung out at my current BF's house before we started dating. We were laying on the floor listening to records and he turned to ask me what time it was. I think it was 4 if I remember. He then said, "Wow, you've been here 4 hours and I haven't kissed you yet?" Still makes me smile. And needless to say, it worked very well. I once had a guy walk up to me at a bar and said, "Hello, my name is Rob and I'll be hitting on you tonight. What can I get you to drink?" Silly, playful, and direct. We dated for about 8 months. Edit. Wow, thank you for the awards. For anyone wanting to use this line, he said it in a playful way with a huge smile. I started dating the university's lone wolf and was extremely surprised to find how incorrigible a flirt he was. But he didn't speak my native language. He was not from my state and my parents wouldn't have approved of our relationship. When I told him I didn't want to lead him on, he said we would try our best and if it didn't work out he would take full responsibility for his broken heart and that I need not feel pressured. The feeling of liberation I felt cinched the deal for me. Looking back, I am strangely touched by how he, an introvert, had allowed himself to be openly vulnerable in front of me. After 7 years of a solid relationship, which included 3 years of wearing my parents down to accept him, we got married a couple of months ago. We trained martial arts together and he bought me my first GI. I thought it was so kind and sweet. 6 years later and we're now married. Invited me over to watch Gordon Ramsay anger compilations and make candy bugs. I was playing my 3DS on the train and a guy sat across from me, said, "Excuse me, can I ask what you're playing?" And we struck up a conversation. I was so engaged that I almost missed my stop. Afterwards we would sit and talk on our way home and he started gifting me books from his work. That's when I asked him out. Edit. Instead of answering individual questions, the game was Animal Crossing, New Leaf. My go-to game to wind down after a long day. When I asked him out, he said yes, but after a few dates, we parted amicably. Sorry. No love story here. Not trying to flirt with me and sending me memes instead. We're still together and I couldn't love him more. We were walking quietly at night and he stopped, looked me in the eyes, and said, "I think you just broke my writer's block." Not sure if it was a technique. It seemed genuine. When we parted ways he went home and wrote the first song he'd written in months. Boot, it was super hot and I melted when he said it. Took genuine time to get to know me. And bought me a few gifts based on interests he'd asked me about before. I was less amazed by the gifts, and more amazed that he'd cared enough to remember what I actually liked. I'd found most guys wouldn't listen, and would just buy me generic stuff like jewelry or chocolates if they wanted to gift me something, which was very nice, but not for me. So when he surprised me with gaming merchandise I was thrilled. Guys, spend those months properly getting to know her. He bought me the book I was looking at in the bookstore. Told me he liked to draw and asked for my number so he could send me some examples. Then he freehanded a picture of a moose for me. Wow, this blew up overnight. Thank you for the rewards. I am adding a link to the moose pic he sent me. The moose pic. It was my first day in middle school and this kid asked to see my planner. I handed it to him and he flipped to the contact section and left me his name and number. I'll never forget how smooth he was. Love the phrasing of that question. And I shall use that from now on. How did you and mom meet? She did flirting to me. Time to read comments and build EXP. As a person with zero game who is also quite oblivious, being direct as hot and clear communication and doing it with confidence works the best. But also one time someone asked me, "If you were a pirate would you keep your parrot on this shoulder or this shoulder?" Putting his arm around me to touch the furthest shoulder. TBH, it actually turned me on even though it was extremely stupid. Edit. Okay y'all, to be clear, I don't condone touching a stranger or anyone without their consent unless you understand the parameters of your relationship already. This person was my friend and we were vibing lol. He bought me a giant bag of beef jerky. A few years later he was tossing pebbles at my dorm window with another bag of beef jerky and roses. He was a great boyfriend. Ended up being a city husband though. Will always be in love with the person he was before that. However, not really flirting, but my BF gave the best gift. We're exchanging Christmas presents. And I get a necklace that is just one big sapphire. I instantly gush. And happily exclaim, "You got me my birthstone." BF looks at me confused and says, "Birthstone? I don't know anything about birthstones. I got it because it reminds me of your eyes." I instantaneously melt into the floor. He meant it too. He said, "I have a riddle for you." Then he took my hand and traced a line down the middle of my palm. This is a river. It is too wide to jump over, too deep to wade across, too fast to swim across, and too long to go around. There is a bunny stuck on one side of it. How does the bunny cross the river? After about 10 minutes of me trying to guess the answer, I gave up and asked him how the bunny got across the river. He said, "Who cares? I just wanted to hold your hand." He said, "I caught feelings for you." And I looked at him confused. But blushing he showed me my screen and that he had caught a Pokemon for me and gave it the nickname, Feelings. We are married and have 2 kids now. Edit. Thank y'all for the upvotes. I told my husband about it and he's stoked. I met my now husband while I was in the hospital. He worked there and I was a frequent patient unfortunately. Anyway, he would bring daffodils to my room, or apple juice. He snuck me extra warm blankets and would sit with me before, after his shift. When I got out, he offered to get groceries and wash my hair, all of it just as a friend. He knew I wasn't interested in dating while going through everything and so he was just there. Turns out I happened to like him there and we are celebrating our 12th anniversary this year. He brought me and my little sister flowers the day after Valentine's Day. He said, everyone gets flowers on Valentine's Day, but the day after you'll be the only one. We walked home together all the time from school and he would do something cute, funny, caring to make sure I was on the inside of the sidewalk when we were together. Like he would twirl me around and guide me to the inside or tickle my side and jokingly push me to the inside of the sidewalk. I guess not a typical flirt move, but considering 99% of the I was walking to get anywhere, him wanting me to be safe when we were together was so sweet. We are not together and have never dated, but that still is one of the top things on my list of sweet moments. Even in school he'd walk on the outside cuz I always got shoulder checked by people passing by. She sent me a picture of 2 frogs sitting on a leaf and said, us. Flirted with my dog first. He did my dishes. The first week dating my now husband, we climbed a tree together and sat in it for an hour, getting to know each other and making each other laugh. Be genuine. You'll be happiest when someone likes you for how you are. Listen carefully and show you are paying attention goes a long way. Was on a date. Had been talking about books and authors. He asked me if I wanted to go back to his place to check out his book collection. Mine was bigger, but the 6 was great. Arguing with me, but in a way that let me know he respected my opinion. Just disagreed. Not arguing to win or show superiority. Just an enthusiastic exchange of differing ideas. This devolved into teasing. And then into some other things that were a lot less cerebral. It takes a lot of talent to argue without being a jerk. Plus you really have to listen to the other person. He came up to me and said, I was wondering if you could help me. I seem to have lost my Congressional Medal of Honor around here somewhere. Just being genuinely nice. My boyfriend was too shy to flirt with me at first since we're only friends. So he texted me saying I looked really nice that day after seeing me. And it was such a simple thing, but it really made my day better. And that can let the person know you are interested in them. It doesn't need to be a big scheme. I don't know either. I never realize if someone is flirting with me or nobody ever flirted with me. Your pants are unzipped. Tried it as a young adult and worked about half the time. He got my dog's balls unstuck from the frozen porch with some hot water and a spatula. Then told me to spray the porch with Pam so it doesn't happen again. Girl acted like she was being a very mild victim of a dude dancing with her at a concert. Asked me if I would dance with her to save her. Made me feel like a hero, but she later told me it was an elaborate ruse. Well done. This is a tricky one. The thing about flirting is that it only feels good if you actually like the person. When you like somebody, if they offer you a lift we think is kinda sleek, but if you don't like them, is kinda creepy. We were 15. Opening credits of the movie started. He put his arm around me and said, if I'm going to start flirting, I'd better start early. Been together 23 years. Good strategy, bro. I was walking on my university campus. Tripped and dropped my books. Heeled sandals. Raised sidewalk. He asked me if I was okay, and picked up my books. He then carried my books and walked me to class. We chatted the entire walk, and when we got to my class, he asked for my phone number. I tore off a piece of paper, and wrote it, but without my name. I wanted to see if he was listening when I told him. He listened. We've been married over 20 years. He makes me smile every day. *edit. Y'all have made us smile. And laugh. Thank you. I hope you all have a great weekend. Thank you for the awards. You're too kind. Not sure if this counts as flirting. But he read my favorite book just so we'd have something in common to talk about. Edit. TYSM for the awards and upvotes. OMG aw. Last year of college for us. He'd show up after my classes and follow me around everywhere, talking incessantly. When he'd see me on campus he'd run over to say hi. I would flirt by sometimes picking a little wildflower to give to him when I saw him next that day. He'd wear it in his shirt or behind his ear. We now have 2 sons and he's taught the older one, younger as a baby, to give me little wildflowers when we're out walking together. Asking me my favorite Lego Star Wars character. He kind of ruined it though by trying to kiss me 2 minutes later. Kindergarten. He bought me wings when I was having a hard, bad day. We're still together to this day. When I met my first BF, we were at a car show. We talked, flirted for a bit, and then instead of asking for my number, he gave me his number. He left it completely up to me if I wanted to contact him again or not. I was insanely shy. But I liked him, so I texted him the next day and it led to dating for 2 years. Might not work on every girl, but I liked the no pressure approach he took. We need a dedicated Thirsty Thursday thread for posts like this. Made eye contact. Asked interesting questions. Listened to my answers and responded. He didn't make the conversation about him. Not a woman, but once my buddy practiced on me before he went to talk to a girl he liked. He said he liked my huge tits and ass and wondered if I'd like to sit on his penis. Didn't work on the girl, but I certainly felt something spark inside when he tried it on me. I love reading threads like this because they give me hope in my love life. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm going to be scrolling Reddit alone in the dark corners of my basement. 2 come to mind. Very different circumstances. 1. A guy in a bar asked me if I knew how to waltz and proceeded to try and teach me. He 100% had no idea what the frock he was doing, but all the credit for trying. 2. A guest at the hotel I worked at broke their door lock so couldn't get in. So I asked the kitchen porter to help, and he broke it open in one solid move. I cannot begin to express how damn effective that was. My husband thinks he is flirting when he swings his peep around or pokes me with it. By doing nothing. My husband was quiet and it was mysterious, which required no flirting. I wanted to know more about him and had a fun challenge to get him to talk. The ones that always came off strong or super outgoing flirty made me red to the face, nervous, and freaked out. Now we've been together for 14 years in the most chill relationship ever. Edit. His friends, when I asked about him, said, "Who? Oh, that's Danny, he's the asshole." I had a boyfriend who was really into working out and martial arts. I asked him to show me a move and he swept my feet out from under me, then caught me and kissed me. Hottest thing ever. Guy here. Only tried this once. I was at a formal function and this cute little brunette was sitting at my table. We made eye contact all evening and chatted as best we could with someone sitting in between us. As the evening was winding down, my roommate, who I rode with, was ready to leave and go to a local bar. I went up to the young lady and put my hand gently on her bare back and told her that we were leaving and I hoped to see her at the bar. I really, truly had never been that forward with anyone before. We have been married now for over 30 years and she still comments on that moment. So I guess it worked. "You look like you could kick my ass. Can you buy me a drink?" He was kind and started off by just having chill conversations with me. That turned into flirting, which turned into me asking him out. He asked me if I wanted to do an activity. Genuinely liking me as a person. Spending a lot of energy getting to know me and figure me out. I know it's strange, but somehow that works for me. I asked him if he had a crush at school. He said yes. I asked if I knew this girl. He said yes. I asked if I spoke with this girl. He said that would be strange. I asked him many questions trying to narrow down the possibilities, but he would only give vague details every time. It turned into a little game of ours. This went on maybe a few months. His crush was me. Married for 11 years now and his wit's still sharp as ever. First date. This guy and I were sat by a canal watching geese. A goose turns and stares in my direction and my date says, "I think that one thinks you're cute." Then he turns to the goose and angrily shouts, "Hey buddy, back off." Long story. But we were staring at the sky and he started telling me about a short story where an advanced society never saw the stars. And when they did, it was so world-changing and incredible and terrible that they almost went mad over it. After that, his eyes fell onto me and he had stopped talking. That was that. Though the next day he had finally leaned in for the kiss. And after he had said, "I think I had just seen the stars for the first time. Nothing else will ever compare." My now fiancé and I matched on Tinder. My bio said something about the music I liked and that I'm a gamer. And his first line was, "A woman who likes punk rock, plays video games and only lives a mile away? This must be a trap." I ignored him because I had gone on a bunch of bad dates and Christmas was approaching and I just didn't want to deal with it. After the holidays, he messaged again. "Nah, if this was a trap you would have sprung it already." I don't know why it made me laugh, but we've been together ever since. Edit. Spelling. We'd met previously and he was trying to get out of the friend zone quickly. I told him I was too busy to date. He offered to hang out with me while I plowed through a ton of errands, including an oil change, getting gas, returning shoes, picking up cleaning, and blowing up balloons for a party. It was so nice to have support of me being me and me doing stuff, and it was nice low-key no pressure hanging out to get to know each other. I was so busy that day I forgot to eat lunch and he got me a donut and coffee. I married him. Just be open and honest. Try to talk to me like I'm a human being instead of a conquest. We met for a one-night stand type thing but started talking a lot afterwards and hanging out a lot. He would bring me to his spot on a beach I didn't know about and we'd kiss for hours. But he had to leave for a vacation with his family about a month after first meeting. He came back with a bag full of gems he mined from a mine and gave me a clear locket to put them in. I wear it almost every day 4 years later. We are married now. And yes, I get the bag of gems. Betty, a lot from the movie Freddy Got Fingered. It makes it even better. Actually happened just few days ago. He accidentally dropped his keys on the ground, went to pick them up, looked at my feet and screamed, "Holy shit. Your legs are real." I was confused as hell, just like everyone else. And I laughed and asked, "What?" He explained that my shoes were so shiny that they looked like they were metal and one of my friends has a prosthetic, so he assumed I do too. It wasn't sexy or flirty per se, but I can't get him out of my head. Also, it opened up a convention that lasted for hours. Great unintentional icebreaker. I wrote and self-published a book as a kid. Somehow this guy found out. Went online and bought a copy, and read it and then asked me questions about it and shared his favorite characters. I was shocked. He was pleased with himself. We've been married 4 years come August. Just talk to me like a normal person. My now husband and I met at a wedding reception. I wasn't particularly attracted to him initially, but he caught my attention by asking me to dance and then kept my attention because he actually knew a little bit of ballroom dancing. Nothing very fancy, just a couple basic steps, but it went a long way with me. We've been together 9 years. On our first date, which was also the first time we'd met in person, he walked into the bar and greeted me with a courtesy when he saw me. I asked him about it later and he said he had no idea what was going through his head when he did it and immediately thought to himself, "Why the frock did you just do that?" He's currently in our kitchen washing up, singing along to Queens of the Stone Age, and we're both extremely happy. He still sometimes greets me with a courtesy too. My so gave me a hamburger corgi plushie and a chocolate rose with a tag that says, "Will you be the ye to my ha?" I love them so damn much. A friend playfully and very literally waltzed me around the room. I don't dance, was never taught, never learned. But this guy had some ballroom training up his sleeve, and I felt like I was walking on air in that moment. We need to bring back ballroom dancing in the post-pandemic world. He awarded my comment. He was drunk, called me fart face and throw an air kamehameha at me. I've been dating this gentleman for 8 years now. I was at a bar and a guy came up to me and suplexed me through a coffee table. We've been married for 12 years and have 5 wonderful kids. My now husband said on one of our first dates, "I'm not gonna kiss you tonight because my throat has been feeling scratchy." I responded with, "So you're gonna kiss me eventually?" He did eventually and he asked before doing it, "Hello there." Not a girl. But I like staring at women until they notice and then quickly look away and leave without saying anything and repeatedly calling myself a creepy idiot who deserves to die alone. We were walking somewhere and passed a pedestrian sign. The one where 2 people hold hands. Without hesitation he told me, "The sign says I have to take your hand," and took my hand. I found that the best way to get attention from women is to have a girlfriend. Danced ridiculously. I married him, a keeper. I came here to get tips on how to get a girlfriend. And I am dissatisfied. Not sure if this counts. But story time. I was dating a friend of mine I met in high school when he invited me out to a LARP session in our local park. I say yes and get ready to go. He comes over and says he brought a friend he met at our local library playing games on their computers. We introduce ourselves and immediately we talk as if we knew each other for years. Needless to say, we connected pretty fast. Time skipped no justu and the 3 of us are hanging out in my bedroom. BF says it's very clear our relationship is going nowhere and says, "You two obviously have more in common than we do. You two should hook up." And that's how we ended up dating for almost 2.5 years now. The 3 of us still good friends. Met a guy through a mutual friend and we all went to karaoke that night. He got up maybe 3 times to sing. While singing Kryptonite I realized he was keeping eye contact with me as he sang, singing to me rather than the bar at large. This was of course a small part of the night and flirting but always stuck with me. June 1st will be our 12-year anniversary together. Approaching me and my mom and asking her if she accepts applications for the son-in-law position. Bold. Offered to buy me a drink which I declined saying I didn't know him. He followed up by saying why didn't he get to know me over a drink. I married that guy. He asked for nudes. I sent him hentai. Then he sent me memes. Then I sent him memes. Showing up when promised or when he felt like it while others did not so much. We are married NOF. Honestly, the most interesting guys are the ones who just treat you like a person instead of someone to just date or sleep with. It's not really a flirting technique. But those are the dudes who usually wind up being the most fun to be around. I am too unattractive to pull any of these off LMAO. One man's flirt is another man's restraining order. Me and my longtime friend suddenly talked one day and then eventually kept the communication. We were planning to meet and we were talking about food in particular. The question was what dish does the both of us want cooked by each other. But we couldn't get to the point because random stories kept popping up. So I then said, in a mildly impatient tone, "What do you want?" She said, "You." I'd like to point out that none of the answers are. The first thing he did was sent me a dig pic and asked if I wanted to frock. My now husband was the first, and last, guy the first dated that opened doors for me and generally was gentlemanly and always respectful towards me. He was so enthusiastic to introduce me to his friends. Hi. With a smile and being genuine.